This is an interview with Inhuman Condition on Sunday, July 4th, 2021 by Nick Burkell. Now, can you tell me about getting your first drum set, Jeremy?
Yes, my first drum set was given to me by my dad. He got it from a pawn shop when I was 7 years old. It was a green pearl export, and I liked it so much that when I became of age to buy my own drum set, I bought the same damn drum set, not understanding that I needed to upgrade. I was just happy enough to buy a kit, so it's kind of funny. So it was a pearl export.
Now, Taylor, can you tell me about your first guitar?
Sure. I got my first guitar for Christmas when I was 13 years old. And I probably had been asking for a guitar maybe a few years before that, but my parents gave me the old, you'll never play that type of thing. So I begged them, and then Christmas morning I got it was a Johnson guitar, and it was like a black Strat style guitar with a 10-watt Johnson amp.
She's going to cut off your Johnson.
And I still have that guitar with me, actually.
Jeremy, were you involved in any music schools or private tutors or conservatories when you were younger?
No, just the house of rock that I was brought up in. My dad was a guitar player, and he used to every Sunday when everybody was doing church and the like, my dad and I were playing music, so I was kind of brought up to rock.
Taylor, what about you?
I took guitar lessons for maybe the first 3 years that I was playing guitar. I went through a couple different guys, and then I ended up with these two fellas, Aaron and Tony, who pretty much showed me probably 90% of the music that I listen to now, stuff like Death and At the Gates and King Crimson and The Haunted and stuff like that. So I took lessons for a couple years and then kind of just went and did my own thing and, made my own bad habits.
When it came to the Massacre music that eventually became Rat God, did you rehearse and record at the Smoke and Mirror studio or another place when you were composing it?
That was all written and recorded here at Smoke and Mirrors, our studio here in Spring Hill. All the guitars were demoed out by me, and then Jeremy and I went and kind of chopped up all the arrangements, fine-tuned them, and maybe swapped out a bridge or a verse riff here and there. And we had all the drums and guitars tracked here by the end of 2019. So our part were done for about a year and a half before, Rat God finally came out.
Now, can you tell me about creating the Smoke and Mirrors recording studio, and how's it evolved over time?
Well, I started that personally in, I think, somewhere around 2006. I started doing all the pre-production for our band, The Absence, for the Riders of the Plague record. So I started in a very infantile stage then, and whenever we recorded Riders of the Plague, we had hired Jonas Sjögren and flew him over from Sweden. Him and I became very good friends, and he was essentially a mentor to me in the early stages of my recording. And at about 2009, I built my own studio, and it was a pretty sweet setup. And when I was building it, I was like, well, I need a name for a studio, because obviously you have to have a name for something. And part of owning a studio is making magic when there is no magic. So I figured Smoke and Mirrors was a pretty perfect name for a studio. So here we are, all these years later, still putting magic sprinkles onto sometimes turds. Or, maybe sometimes it's a good thing, and then we just put magic sprinkles on it. So it's not always turds.
Now, you titled the album Rat God. What does that mean to you?
To me, it means anybody could be a rat god. It's any real scumbag that you know. And a scumbag or two. Could be one of your parents, could be an ex-girlfriend, could be your current girlfriend, could be your husband, could be a boss, could be anybody. it's kind of like a Lord of the Slime, you know. They exist. Those people are out of there. Those people are out there, rather. And yeah, I thought it was just a pretty sweet title. So there we go. And that's the actual song, Rat God, is written about Richard Ramirez, who is the Night Stalker.
When you were forming this band and getting Terry Butler and Rick Rozz involved, what would you say was the most inspirational death album for you?
Me personally, Taylor here. My favorite death metal album of all time is Human by Death, which, of course, Rick and Terry were not on. But they were, that was my first death album. I'm a huge fan of all their records, and obviously most everything that Terry's played on, and Rick, of course, big influence as well. So, I guess the obvious ones: Leprosy, Spiritual Healing, and then, of course, From Beyond.
For me, my favorite death record was Individual Thought Patterns, because Gene Hoglan is a fucking mutant, and you can quote me on that and put that on my tombstone and roll me in a shroud that says Gene Hoglan rules, and it'd be pretty sweet. And I want my funeral to be narrated by a Japanese lady named Miyako, because she's great.
Now, for your song Tarantula, how did you get Rick Rozz to lay down that guitar solo on the song?
Well, once we left Massacre, we had like a floodgate of messages come through saying like, "Oh, not surprised, saw that coming," whole that sort of thing. And Rick and Terry were two of those messages that we got, and so we, chatted about our previous traumas with certain certain current Massacre member, and
member.
It was pretty much as simple as, well, hey, do you want to hear some of the music? And they were both like, oh, this is killer. And we're like, hey, Rick, would you want to lay down a solo or three? And he said, hell yeah. So it was actually pretty simple to get him on board. And then Terry, we had spoken to around the same time, and he was just he was working on some things with Obituary at the time, and then when his schedule allowed it, he was all for doing the record and being a full-time band member, and so it's pretty easy to get those guys on board, thankfully.
Yeah, they to quote Joe Perry, the music did the talking, so here we are.
I believe I heard that you had Rick lay down solos for 3 different songs. Can you tell me about the other songs besides Tarantula?
Well, I can't tell you the titles because I'd have to kill you. But I can tell you that there's going to be 2 songs on whatever the next record is that will have him 2 solos. And also we had Paul from Cannibal Corpse write lyrics for one of the songs on this record, and he has a song on the next record as well. So we kind of just had those guys do their guest parts on the songs, and then we chose which songs were going to go on the first record. So,
were you able to pick up any cool lessons or techniques from working with either of those guys?
I feel like we all got a lesson of coolness from Terry, because he's one cool dude.
Yeah, I at least went down 2 or 3 degrees in temperature, because he's definitely cool.
No, Terry's he was a pleasure to work with. Is a pleasure to work with. I guess I don't know if I necessarily learned anything from working with the guys, but it was pretty cool to watch Rick rip on my my guitar, hear it through my amp, because he didn't have a guitar set up in D at the time, so he just used my rig, and that was pretty cool to see him go ham on my whammy bar. So that was pretty cool.
For each of you, for this album, what song were you most proud of how it turned out?
For me, I'd say Tarantula. It was pretty amazing. Originally, just thinking about writing a drum intro that could have a couple drummers on stage, all like Sepultura style. And then when I got into the mixing end of it, it really allowed me to flex my my Arise muscles and make a killer ambient intro. And then it just goes into such a heavy punishing riff that happens next. And Florida did a body bang. I did like a full bend over body bang, like damn sure my head almost hit the ground. I was headbanging so hard. So I was like, this here is a keeper for me. And then Taylor wrote some really killer lyrics for that song. Lyrically, it's about, just about, there's some unsavory types, So it's really cool to be able to yell that into a microphone at people. And, it's really heavy, and it gets a good mosh going, which who doesn't like a good mosh? Taylor, take it away.
My favorite is probably, also Tarantula is pretty cool, but I guess I've been saying that my favorite is Euphorophobia. I think because it's like about as caveman as it gets. There's only 3 riffs. It kind of has that 1-2 punch in the beginning, which is pretty cool. Demon punching intro. And
yes, sans long-winded intro. It's like it's right to the biscuits.
We don't mess around. No foreplay on that one. And it has also a cool little mosh bridge. So being a thrash guy, I love a good mosh.
Yeah, George Washington.
Now I noticed you've come up with like 3 or 4 music videos for the album. For each of you, what was your favorite?
My favorite is Tarantula, I think.
Mine too.
Our roommate's here. She says her too. Also, it's Jeremy's wife. She filmed the video, so that was pretty cool. I mean, she filmed a lot of the videos we did, but I think that one turned out the coolest. It has I've always been a fan of just videos with the guys just playing. I like going to shows, so it's kind of like a little private show, and kind of has a cool sort of Pantera vibe to it, which I'm all right with. So
yeah, it's like a no bullshit kind of video. It's just the guys, and there's no cut scenes and anything flashy or fancy. It's just our mugs for 2.5, 3 minutes.
And we're not even facing each other, which is unique.
It is pretty unique. Yeah, me too. I like the same one, and I think that Taylor summed it all up.
Now, what's your favorite ghost story or urban legend you picked up from bands you've toured with or chatting with fans after a show over the years?
I think what's a pretty good one is there's a skunk ape here in Florida. It's like a yeti or like an abominable snowman, and or an abdominal snowman if you got the right 6-pack. I hadn't heard too much about the skunk ape until I ride bicycles with Glen Benton, and he's on record for having a sighting of them, and he told me about the skunk ape, and it kind of blew my mind. I was pretty impressed by the fact that we have a skunk ape here. Like, what the hell? I mean, Google it. Whenever we hang up, like, I'm going to get off the line here. If you're just listening at home, just whenever you turn your computer off, look up skunk ape, and then you'll see some pretty sweet photos.
Cool. Now, would you like to go back to any questions?
No, I think we're all right.
What about you?
Yeah, do you have anything you want to touch on?
I guess probably what would be like your 3 absolute rarest demos or things like that in your personal collection of death metal albums?
Well, as a CD collector, I probably have, 800 or 1,000 or something. One of my favorites is this Russian thrash band called Aspid. I believe the album title is Extravasation or Extravasation. I don't even know how to say it. Technical, like, thrash stuff. They did one album, and I waited to see it pop up on eBay and finally got it. And that's probably one of my most rare items.
I see.
Yeah, I don't have too big of a CD collection. Not these days. All of my stuff was stolen before, so I used to have a bunch of them. And then, kind of after I lost 500 CDs, I got like gutted and was like, I'm okay. I actually didn't collect music for a while after that. I was pretty much a curmudgeon, and then I started collecting vinyl again, and so I'm pretty proud of my my vinyl collection. I don't really have too many like super rare things.
I'm pretty proud to have the Japanese version of Rat God, though. That's a pretty cool thing to have in the collection.
Yeah, me too, I guess I'd have to say. I mean, I realize I keep saying that, but Taylor and I are brothers / best friends for a reason, so there we go.
I see, cool. Like, I'm just a huge Japanese collector. I mean, probably the coolest thing I have on vinyl, speaking about what you guys just said, is the 1987 Japanese vinyl of The Ultraviolence by Death Angel. It was just like one of those things. I saw it on eBay 5 or 6 years ago, and it was just like one of those things where it's just like, Merry Christmas to me.
Yeah,
Sometimes
awesome.
you have to splurge.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
I just ordered the new Metallica Black Album box set for a pretty like a dork. So
Yeah, and that's got lots of stuff in it. Like, I don't know if any of you guys out there listening, or you, Nick, are aware of like exactly what's in that thing, but holy smokes, it's very much worth the price tag that it comes with. Like, when you break it down to the brass tacks, it's very minimal for each item, so it's pretty sweet.
So I'll get that in the end of September. So that'll probably be in my top list of cool discs.
Yeah, don't you have that Queensryche box set thing too?
Oh yeah, I have the long box version of Operation Live Crime, and it has the live VHS in it, which is pretty awesome. I think I got it at a flea market for $2.
Yeah, we saw it somewhere weird, right?
So yeah, I guess we have some cool stuff.
We got some stuff. I got a first pressing of Venom's Black Metal, so I guess that's pretty killer. That's pretty sweet. That's again, vinyl collecting. It was a long time there where I was pretty fucking disgruntled because some drug addict broke my window out and took my CD collection. They probably were like, "Sweet, I can make $20 over at the pawn shop," and I was like, "Sweet, I spent thousands, and that's all of my life." But I guess bad on me because I had them all with me in the car. So yeah, rock and roll.
Thanks a lot. This has been an interview with Inhuman Condition on Sunday, July 4th, 2021 by Nick Burkell.